when I start a process like this, I look at the theme, I think about a structure up front, and then I go out of my comfort zone, meaning I'll look for inspiration. I'll go outside of your office, go outside of your classroom, get away from your device, go into a Barnes and Nobles or another bookstore and just pick up books that resonate with you. For me, that's always something with a very minimalistic design. It would be easy to go to the educator section or the kids section, and I definitely go there, but that's not my first go-to. I look at what is this book trying to do, and in its most basic state, it's a step-by-step guide. So I'll go and look at step-by-step guides. That could be from computer magazines, but again, that's too close to what I'm doing. And I don't want to just get some screenshots in and put some steps below it. I'll go have a look at a knitting magazine or something on how to fix the plumbing, or a fishing magazine, or a health magazine, or interior design, something that has those steps in it, but in a way that we didn't think about it. Once I've done the whole finding interesting design ideas that fit with me, I try to bring them together and I'll quickly sketch them on pen and paper, and then I'll go look for colors. In this case, I wanted something that worked with Book Creator and the colors that they have from the company, so that would fit. And then there's a few things you could use. Adobe's got an app called Adobe Capture that will, you can point at at an image and it will suck out the colors and it will give you the colors in RGB or in hex. If you're looking for something to start from scratch, you could use Coolors, that's with COO. And then another one, when I wanted to do shading, I will use Peloton. See, I can put those accents in it. And how can I get that interactivity in there that you want to swipe or click through to the next page? So it's thinking about the whole thing, and not just thinking about one page. So you have to look at it as those scrolls that the Egyptians used. And a book these days for me is that continuous scroll. It's almost like the tapestries that were used in the Middle Ages. The story continues, and if you look at a show like Game of Thrones, for instance, and then The Last Watch they did, it's that kind of story, almost a little bit of a comic book too. So how can you get people to go and read the whole thing? Structure is one. If you want to make it easy, finding elements that you like that fit your style. For me, again, I try to have that very minimalistic style, so I can work with basic colors, basic shapes. That results into finding a color scheme, which is tricky in the beginning, because colors for me have feelings, and I need to relate to it, and they need to partner together. If you use a purple, then not every kind of blue or every kind of red resonates with it. Some can be very bright, almost fluorescent. Then you can't have a very mute color to go with it, unless you want to try to have a contrast. But for me, they always need to be like a family and work together. So then when you have that color scheme, then you can start thinking about, okay, how am I going to do my design? And I start with sketching it out. So from sketch to screen, that will be my trial and error. I will design a lesson page in this case, and then see what's the next page, the standards page, and how do those two fit together. When you open up a book like a picture book, how is page 1 connected to page 2? And then also what I try to do is go into page 3, 4, and so on and so on. And once you've got that basic design done, you look at the sketch and maybe something you sketched didn't work. when you're trying it out on your computer or on your tablet. And then you have to go back to the drawing board. In this case, the digital drawing board, because you can move a few things around and see what works with the tools that you have. Once that's done, you kind of create templates. So if one lesson page is done, you can start playing with that color scheme and say, for chapter 1 in this case, the listening chapter was green. Then I just have to copy that page or duplicate that page and change the colors, and then that will speed up your process. Instead of you writing down how much on the X or on the Y, and the pixels and the rate and the height and all of that, just duplicate it, change the colors. That will save you so much time. You have to ask feedback as quick as possible, because there's nothing as frustrating as finishing a whole project, then sending it off and someone saying that's not what we wanted. We want to make so many changes that you actually have to throw your project into the trash can and start all over again. So because I design in small bits, I will do the lesson page, I will do the example page, and then I will ask feedback. I avoid that major disaster in the end. So by the time we are okay with the digital design and the placeholders, I can start putting text in. If you're working with different authors, I would suggest setting up some kind of form, either a Google form or whatever form that you're using, and have the boxes in there. Because you have a page that you designed, you can show a screenshot to the people, because they need to visualize it. A lot of times when you're asking text, people don't know what you're asking for. A title, 3 lines of a description. What does that mean when it gets onto a page? Because font size will change a lot too. So I'll make it very short, text description, the age group, the timing, the standards if you have them. That's a copy paste, but it has to fit into the layout. I'm not going to work the other way around. If it's too much text, we'll again cut the text down to the bare minimum so that it's still understandable, but it fits the design and the feeling of the book. I always go through it as myself, as a learner. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. You go through the rabbit hole and you follow a path, and things happen along the way. They are not necessarily planned, but I'll use some like guidance or interaction. I always put interaction in that will get you back a step. Because I played a lot of games where you could go through certain levels and go back a few levels to get secret tokens or whatever, I do that in my design for anything else too. So what you will see in this book is you'll see a table of content, and you see all these blocks in there, and I put a little transparent either square or rectangle on it that will then, if you click on it, take you to that page. And throughout the page there are moments in the book that will get you back to that table of content. So you can choose again. Say you've read the second activity of the reading chapter, and now you want to go back because you want to do a vocabulary one. I don't want you to swipe through the whole book. I want you to be able to tap on an icon that brings you back to the table of content, and now you can select your new chapter. So I think that's from playing a lot of games, that's an influence that I have. In this case, for Book Creator, you think you're clicking on the block, but actually there's a transparent image over it. And that was a little trick behind the pages in this case. I take a lot of breaks, kind of like small rewards for myself. Or I'm studying the Scrum technique when I use Post-its to say this is chapter 1, but I'll even break chapter 1 up in the lesson page, the standards page, the step-by-step page 1, the step-by-step page 2, the examples page. So what I will do is I'll reward myself. Once the lesson page is done, I need to stand up and be away from the screen. I might even go for a walk and come back and redesign the whole thing. Because I've seen something, a color scheme outside, or a design that sparked my interest, or there was something that didn't feel well. Like, how was a reader going to interact with this? Did it make sense? And then I'll go back and change it, and then I'll nail it down, and then I'll have that template, and then I can use it and change the colors to speed up the process. But I do work in small chunks, and those small, almost like victories that you have of like, yes, it's done, and I can move it from one to another. That pushes you. When I look at something, it's kind of like a tangram, and I see the page in its different elements before I see the whole of the page. So anything that I look at gets broken apart into different shapes. That's why in this Book Creator book, you will see me use a circle and a text box to create a slope with a rounded corner. Because I couldn't turn the shape with the rectangular shape with the rounded corners. I had to find a creative way to get you to that feeling. So when I connect page 2 with page 3, that gives you like a little mountain feeling. That's just a circle and a text box in the same color, and then you need to move it over till the two connect. But it's still subtle things that I try to put in my designs that make you feel like, oh yeah, those pages are connected with each other, and it's one long scroll.